Hi guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Good? Hope so. Let's get to business.
Good afternoon. On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. These carefully targeted actions are designed to disrupt the use of Afghanistan as a terrorist base of operations and to attack the military capabilities of the Taliban regime. We are joined in this operation by our staunch friend, Great Britain. Other close friends, including Canada, Australia, Germany, and France, have pledged forces as the operation unfolds. More than 40 countries in the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and across Asia have granted air transit or landing rights. Many more have shared intelligence. We are supported by the collective will of the world. More than 2 weeks ago, I gave Taliban leaders a series of clear and specific demands. Close terrorist training camps, hand over leaders of the Al-Qaeda network, and return all foreign nationals, including American citizens, unjustly detained in your country. None of these demands were met. And now, the Taliban will pay a price. By destroying camps and disrupting communication, we will make it more difficult for the terror network to train new recruits and coordinate their evil plans. Initially, the terrorists may burrow deeper into caves and other entrenched hiding places. Military action is also designed to clear the way for sustained, comprehensive, and relentless operations to drive them out and bring them. At the same time, the oppressed people of Afghanistan know the generosity of America and their allies. As we strike military targets, we will also drop food, medicine, and supplies to the starving and suffering men and women and children of Afghanistan. The United States of America is a friend of the Afghan people. We are the friends of almost 1 billion worldwide who practice the Islamic faith. The United States of America is an enemy of those who aid terrorists and of the barbaric criminals who profane a great religion by committing murder in its name. This military action is a part of our campaign against terrorism, another front in a war that has already been joined through diplomacy, intelligence, the freezing of financial assets, and the arrests of known terrorists by law enforcement agents in 38 countries. Given the nature and reach of our enemies, we will win this conflict by the patient accumulation of successes, by meeting a series of challenges with determination and will and purpose. Today we focus on Afghanistan, but the battle is broader. Every nation has a choice to make. In this conflict, there is no neutral ground. If any government sponsors the outlaws and killers of innocents, they have become outlaws and murderers themselves, and they will take that lonely path at their own peril. I'm speaking to you today from the treaty room of the White House, a place where American presidents have worked for peace. We're a peaceful nation. Yet as we have learned so suddenly and so tragically, there can be no peace in a world of sudden terror. In the face of today's new threat, the only way to pursue peace is to pursue those who threaten it. We did not ask for this mission, but we will fulfill it.
Back in July, you said a Taliban takeover was highly unlikely. Was the intelligence wrong, or did you downplay it?
I think there was no consensus. If you go back and look at the intelligence reports, they said that it was more likely to be sometime by the end of the year.
You didn't put a timeline out when you said it was highly unlikely. You just said flat out it's highly unlikely the Taliban would take over.
Yeah. Well, the question was whether or not the idea that the Taliban would take over was premised on the notion that somehow the 300,000 troops we had trained and equipped was going to just collapse. They were going to give up. I don't think anybody anticipated that.
We've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly. We have to move in a way in which we can take control of that airport. And we did.
So you don't think this could have been handled, this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
All right, so let's bring in George Stephanopoulos. George, I was watching as that interview came in, a lot to unpack here. I know you're going to have a lot more on Good Morning America, but I wanted to double down here on two things you pressed the president on. The president claims that military leaders did not tell him to keep some sort of smaller footprint on the ground, 2,500 troops. And he also said U.S. intelligence did not predict a collapse this quickly.
Sort of follow up on Caitlin's questions about criticism from people who are your allies or your friends. David Axelrod has called you the best press secretary in his lifetime, I think.
My mom would like that.
Okay. But he's also said that phrasing here, but indefensible, I think. He said you can't defend them. And he has basically said that you guys should acknowledge that it was a failure and be willing to say that the events of the last several days were a failure, even as you maybe, defend the broader question of the drawdown in Afghanistan. What do you say to David Axelrod, who is such a fan of yours?
Mutual. There are a few people I respect as much as David Axelrod in the world of politics. He's brilliant. He's also a great human being. But he would be the first to say that there is a difference between being on the outside and speaking on television and being on the inside, and the difficult choices that you have to make. As I've noted, and as Jake noted, even as we're watching the last couple of days, heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching photos, you referred to some of them, Mike. The president stands by his decision because he knows it's in the interest of the United States, our national security, and the American people. And he is not going to ask mothers and fathers to send their children to fight a war the Afghans won't fight for themselves. And that does not mean that there aren't chaotic moments. There are. There does not mean there aren't moments that we may look back and, take a look at approaches and how to address things moving forward. Of course, that's a part of how you assess governing and how you assess operations moving forward. But right now, and he would be the first, he spent, as you all know, an important role, a vital role, advising President Obama to acknowledge that when you're in government, you're faced with difficult choices.
Good evening from Bagram Air Base. This outpost is more than 7,000 miles from home, but for over a decade, it's been close to our hearts. Because here, in Afghanistan, more than 500,000 of our sons and daughters have sacrificed to protect our country. Today I signed a historic agreement between the United States and Afghanistan that defines a new kind of relationship between our countries. A future in which Afghans are responsible for the security of their nation, and we build an equal partnership between two sovereign states. A future in which war ends and a new chapter begins. Tonight I'd like to speak to you about this transition. But first, let us remember why we came here. It was here, in Afghanistan, where Osama bin Laden established a safe haven for his terrorist organization. It was here in Afghanistan where Al-Qaeda brought new recruits, trained them, and plotted acts of terror. It was here from within these borders that Al-Qaeda launched the attacks that killed nearly 3,000 innocent men, women, and children. So 10 years ago, the United States and our allies went to war to make sure that Al-Qaeda could never again use this country to launch attacks against us. Despite initial success, for a number of reasons, this war has taken longer than most anticipated. In 2002, bin Laden and his lieutenants escaped across the border and established safe haven in Pakistan. America spent nearly fighting a different war in Iraq. And Al-Qaeda's extremist allies within the Taliban have waged a brutal insurgency. But over the last 3 years, the tide has turned. We broke the Taliban's momentum. We've built strong Afghan security forces. We devastated Al-Qaeda's leadership, taking out over 20 of their top 30 leaders. And 1 year ago, from a base here in Afghanistan, our troops launched the operation that killed Osama bin Laden. The goal that I set, to defeat Al-Qaeda and deny it a chance to rebuild, is now within our reach. Still, there will be difficult days ahead. The enormous sacrifices of our men and women are not over. But tonight I'd like to tell you how we will complete our mission and end the war in Afghanistan. First, we've begun a transition to Afghan responsibility for security. Already nearly half of the Afghan people live in places where Afghan security forces are moving into the lead. This month, at a NATO summit in Chicago, our coalition will set a goal for Afghan forces to be in the lead for combat operations across the country next year. International troops will continue to train, advise, and assist Afghans and fight alongside them when needed. But we will shift into a support role as Afghans step forward. As we do, our troops will be coming home. Last year, we removed 10,000 U.S. troops from Afghanistan. Another 23,000 will leave by the end of the summer. After that, reductions will continue at a steady pace with more and more of our troops coming home. And as our coalition agreed, by the end of 2014, the Afghans will be fully responsible for the security of their country. Second, we are training Afghan security forces to get the job done. Those forces have surged and will peak at 352,000 this year. The Afghans
How does training
level for
their
3 years
fucking
and then reduce the size of their
military ever work?
And in Chicago, we will endorse a proposal to support a strong and sustainable long-term Afghan force.
A long-term Afghan force, guys.
Third, we're building an enduring partnership.
This was 2012.
The agreement we signed today sends a clear message to the Afghan people.
It's like fucking 12 years ago.
You stand up, you will not stand alone.
We got Ashraf Ghani.
It establishes the basis
running
for
the
our
fuck
cooperation
out of that country in less than 24 hours. Look at his split, guys. Look at his split.
Democratic institutions.
Where'd Ashraf go?
It supports Afghan efforts to advance development
Where'd a little puppet go?
and dignity for the people.
Gone.
And it includes Afghan commitments to transparency and ability to protect the human rights of all Afghans.
Yeah.
Men and women, boys and girls.
Did he take any boys and girls with him, or did he take bags of money? Ashraf.
We'll work with the Afghans to determine what support they need to accomplish 2 narrow security missions beyond 2014: counterterrorism and continued training. But we will not build permanent bases in this country, nor will we be patrolling in cities and mountains. That will be the job of the Afghan people. Fourth, we're pursuing a negotiated peace. In coordination with the Afghan government, my administration has been in direct discussions with the Taliban.
The Taliban?
We've made it clear that they can be a part of this future if they break with Al-Qaeda, renounce violence, and abide by Afghan laws.
The president is faced with difficult choices, so are members of his team. And what you have to always make the decisions based on is what's in the interest of the American people. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was very firm on that, David. On the intelligence first, he was saying, yes, people believe the Taliban might eventually take control, but no one expected it to happen with the speed and the rapidity that it happened, contradicting what we've heard from a lot of senators who got intelligence briefings, what some leaks from intelligence officials as well. But the president is very, very firm. He said that no one was predicting the Taliban would come into power this quickly, that the Afghan army, the Afghan political structure would just collapse over the course of a weekend. And I was also surprised that he did take on those who say the military was advising him to keep a small U.S. force, group of U.S. forces there, about 2,500 troops there. He's saying that is not the recommendation he got from the military, and he firmly believes that it would have taken many more thousands of American troops to keep Afghanistan stable if we indeed stayed.
And George, I was also struck by this notion of this August 31st deadline. You pressed him on this. Will American troops be out if Americans remain? If some of those who helped us, the Afghan interpreters, if they're still there, will the troops stay and help?
I pressed the president on that, and the president said American troops would stay until all Americans who want to leave can leave. He was slightly more equivocal on our Afghan allies, the interpreters and others who have helped us, but he also committed to do everything possible to get them out.
Ben, back to your bailiwick. I'm going to play something that happened tonight on Fox News. We'll get your reaction on the other side.
The Taliban, good fighters, I will tell you, they're good fighters. We have to give them credit for that. They've been fighting for 1,000 years. That's what they do, is they fight. The Taliban has circled the airport, and who knows if they're going to treat us right. You know, all of a sudden they'll say, well, frankly, if they were smart, they'd really, and they are smart, they should let the Americans out.
So, Ben, there's your primer on foreign relations for tonight, including compliments for the Taliban. What's your reaction to that?
Is Trump a Taliban puppet?
I mean, look,
does he work for the
obviously
Taliban?
Kind of farcical.
Huh?
Taliban has not been around for
He must be
1,000 years.
a Taliban puppet.
Frankly, you know, the
Trump
reality
must be a Taliban
of
puppet.
this is that, you know, Donald Trump is the one who made a deal with the Taliban in which we essentially promised them that we would withdraw, that also all U.S. military contractors on which the Afghan security forces were highly dependent, that they would withdraw as well, without requiring the Taliban to make a deal with the Afghan government, without requiring the Taliban to cease fire across the country. And frankly, when we see the Afghan security forces not fighting, or we see what appears to be regional political figures in Afghanistan cutting deals themselves with the Taliban, they were kind of following deal. They were basically getting assurances that the Taliban wouldn't attack them if they didn't fight back. So, you know, it was easy in the Trump years, I think, to look at the absurdity of some of what he was doing, including, you know, wanting to invite the Taliban to Camp David.
He got the wrong date
September
on the
11th.
Spanish flu one time.
But
he
in
told
reality, that deal on
themselves with
paper is part of what set in motion the events that led us to where we are today.
God
and
damn it.
the fact that
Trump's
he's praising the
That's what it is.
Taliban and talking about them being around 1,000 years kind of reinforces that he had absolutely no idea what he was doing, other than trying to grandstand around some agreement with the Taliban that, you know, frankly,
he didn't know what he was doing.
Precipitate the collapse of the Afghan government that we all just witnessed.
I don't think Trump's the only dumb motherfucker.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics.
my opinion.
How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
Let's go through. Let's reflect, guys. Reflect on the time spent. 20 years. We're gonna go watch for this Afghan war.
Many members of the Taliban, from foot soldiers to leaders, have indicated an interest in reconciliation. The path to peace is now set before them.
I spoke yesterday with President Bush to inform him of my decision. While he and I have had many disagreements over policy throughout the years, we're absolutely united in our respect and support for the valor, courage, and integrity of the women and men of the United States Armed Forces who served. I'm immensely grateful for the bravery and backbone that they have shown through nearly 2 decades of combat deployments. We as a nation are forever indebted to them and to their families. You all know that less than 1% of Americans serve in our armed forces. The remaining 99% of them, we owe them. We owe them. They've never backed down from a single mission that we've asked of them. I've witnessed their bravery firsthand during my visits to Afghanistan. They've never wavered in their resolve. They've paid a tremendous price on our behalf. And they have the thanks of a grateful nation. While we'll not stay involved in Afghanistan militarily, our diplomatic and humanitarian work will continue.
Begin with Afghanistan and the dramatic fall of the capital. Just today, President Biden sending more troops, a total of 6,000 now, to speed up the emergency evacuation of embassy staff and some Afghans who helped the U.S., such as interpreters and their families. The White House releasing this photo of the president being briefed on the developments on the ground. Helicopters and black smoke visible. American diplomats, including the ambassador, evacuated to the airport. At least 500 staff leaving the country so far. The embassy shuttered, the flag coming down. Secretary of State Blinken declaring to ABC's Jonathan Karl, this is manifestly not Saigon. These images from Al Jazeera claim to show Taliban fighters inside the presidential palace. Earlier today, the president of Afghanistan fled the country, saying he chose to avoid bloodshed. Thousands of Afghans now scrambling to get out. The Kabul airport packed earlier today. We have team coverage. ABC's Martha Raddatz, Rachel Scott standing by. But we begin with our senior foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, who leads us off tonight from Kabul.
Tonight, the Taliban taking Kabul, Afghanistan's capital and last government stronghold. This footage from Al Jazeera purporting to show Taliban fighters inside the presidential palace declaring the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, marking the end of a 20-year experiment of democracy and the stunning completion of the militants' dramatic takeover, seizing nearly all of the country in just over a week. Earlier, there were skirmishes and panic at the city's airport. The Afghan president, Ashraf Ghani, fleeing as the Taliban closed in, saying in a Facebook message he wanted to save Kabul from bloodshed. Smoke rising over the US embassy, Chinook helicopters taking off, evacuating US personnel from the country, and eerily reminiscent of the fall of Saigon.
This is manifestly not Saigon. The fact of the matter is this. We went to Afghanistan 20 years ago with one mission in mind, and that was to deal with the people who attacked us on 9/11. And that mission has been successful.
The Biden administration defending the US withdrawal from the country, but clearly caught off guard by the Taliban's rapid advance. Just today, President Biden sending more troops, a total of 6,000, to hasten the emergency evacuation of the embassy and some Afghan visa applicants. Today, the flag removed, the doors shuttered, the US ambassador and all operations transferred to the airport for safety. Embassy staff told to destroy sensitive equipment and documents, especially those containing images of the American flag that could be used as propaganda. And on the streets of Kabul, fear and despair. Long lines as residents scramble to withdraw their life savings, many saying the banks simply running out of cash. And a desperate crush at the Pakistan border crossing as people try to flee. And chaos at the airport as thousands of Afghans desperate to get out. Just 5 weeks ago, this was President Biden, adamant that what we witnessed today wouldn't happen.
The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
But tonight, the worst predictions for Afghanistan's future coming true. In less than 3 months, the Taliban capturing control of nearly every major district outside Kabul. Just this morning, taking the city of Jalalabad before advancing on the capital. This video, released by the Taliban, claiming to show their forces being cheered by residents in the streets. And now the women, and especially the girls of Afghanistan, who've grown up in a country where they have freedom and rights, fearing all of that will be stripped away. This displaced schoolteacher says she watched girls being lashed by the Taliban just for wearing sandals. Yet Miriam here, still defiant.
I'm not afraid of them. We are not the people who will, go back to the dark era. I'm a girl and I don't care about anyone. But what should I be scared of? This is my homeland, my land.
Her land, this country, now under Taliban rule. After 20 years of war, costing trillions of dollars and tens of thousands of lives. Tonight, so many questioning, what was this all for? And what will the future hold? General McKenzie, the head of US Central Command, met with the Taliban in Doha today, telling them not to interfere with the US mission at the airport, warning that the US has the firepower to defend themselves while they work round the clock to get everyone out.
Afghanistan. After al-Qaeda terrorists attacked us on 9/11, our brave warriors, special forces, they quickly deployed to defeat al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. They accomplished their mission rapidly and effectively, and that is when they should have returned home. But the elite, they wanted to nation build, getting us into a 20-year war with no clear mission or strategy, causing massive suffering and wasting trillions of taxpayer dollars. Afghanistan. The question is this: will we hold accountable the elite, the political leaders, the mainstream media, the military leaders, defense contractors, etc., who got us into and kept us in this foolish, short-sighted mission to turn Afghanistan into a quote-unquote democracy, costing us over $1 trillion and countless lives? Unlikely. And will we blindly allow the elite to drag us into new, even more costly military adventures in the name of spreading or protecting democracy? Probably. Out of aloha, we weep for the suffering that the elite have already caused. Out of aloha, we must stop them from causing even more.
د تیرو څو ورځو پیښې په ډېر سرعت سره رامنځته شوې. مخکې له دې چې زه له هېواد څخه ووځم، ما په دې کار کوو چې طالبانو سره د همه شمول ګرانو هېوادوالو، محترمو خویندو، هیلهمند یم چې دغه د ناامیدۍ او مایوسۍ شو. زه د امنیتي او دفاعي ځواکونو څخه مشکور یم او پر هغوی ویاړم. هغوی ماته نه ده خوړلې، اصلي ماته موږ په سیاست کې خوړلې ده. په کوم سیاست کې؟ هم د طالبانو د رهبري سیاسي ناکامي وه، هم د حکومت د رهبري سیاسي ناکامي وه، او هم زموږ د نړیوالو همکارانو سیاسي ناکامي وه. دا ناکامي د سولې پوسه وه چې د جنګ په بهیر بدل شو. او سره له دې چې بار بارم د ټرمپ په ادارې کې دا پیشګویي کړې وه چې باید سوله د افغانانو د تجربې او بین‌المللي معیارونو په اساس وسي، هغه ونه شوه. زه د روانو مذاکراتو څخه چې د حکومت لخوا پیل شوي وي، اوس د ډاکټر صاحب عبدالله او پخوانی ولسمشر کرزي صاحب پر مخ وړي حمایت کوم. دا پروسه باید بریالی شي. من با یک پیراهن و تنبان، یک واسکت و یک جوره چپلی مجبور به ترک وطن شدم. من قصد فرار و جلاوطنی ندارم. فعلا در امارات هستم تا از خونریزی و فاجعه جلوگیری شده باشد. همین حالا در مشوره هستم تا به افغانستان برگردم و به تلاش‌هایم برای تأمین عدالت، حاکمیت افغان‌ها بر کشورمان و اراده ارزش‌ها و دستاوردهای واقعی اسلامی و ملی مردم افغانستان با هم مبارزه کنیم.
Those who refuse to walk it will face strong Afghan security forces backed by the United States and our allies. Fifth, we are building a global consensus to support peace and stability in South Asia. In Chicago, the international community will express support for this plan and for Afghanistan's future. And I have made it clear to its neighbor, Pakistan, that it can and should be an equal partner in this process in a way that respects Pakistan's sovereignty, interests, and democratic institutions. In pursuit of a durable peace, America has no designs beyond an end to al-Qaeda safe havens and respect for Afghan sovereignty. As we move forward, some people will ask why we need a firm timeline. The answer is clear. Our goal is not to build a country in America's image or to eradicate every vestige of the Taliban. These objectives would require many more years, many more dollars, and most importantly, many more American lives. Our goal is to destroy al-Qaeda, and we are on a path to do exactly that. Afghans want to assert their sovereignty and build a lasting peace. That requires a clear timeline to wind down the war. Others will ask, why don't we leave immediately? That answer is also clear. We must give Afghanistan the opportunity to stabilize. Otherwise, our gains could be lost, and al-Qaeda could establish itself once more. As Commander-in-Chief, I refuse to let that happen. I recognize that many Americans are tired of war. As President, nothing is more wrenching than signing a letter to a family of the fallen. We're looking into the eyes of a child who will grow up without a mother or father. I will not keep Americans in harm's way a single day longer than is absolutely required for our national security. But we must finish the job we started in Afghanistan and end this war responsibly. My fellow Americans, we've traveled through more than a decade under the dark cloud of war. Yet here, in the pre-dawn darkness of Afghanistan, we can see the light of a new day on the horizon. The Iraq War is over. The number of our troops in harm's way has been cut in half, and more will soon be coming home. We have a clear path to fulfill our mission in Afghanistan while delivering justice to al-Qaeda. This future is only within reach because of our men and women in uniform. Time and again, they have answered the call to serve in distant and dangerous places. In an age when so many institutions have come up short, these Americans stood tall. They met their responsibilities to one another and to the flag they serve under. I just met with some of them and told them that as Commander-in-Chief, I could not be prouder. And in their faces, we see what is best in ourselves and our country. Our soldiers, our sailors, our airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and civilians in Afghanistan have done their duty. Now, we must summon that same sense of common purpose. We must give our veterans and military families the support they deserve and the opportunities they have earned. And we must redouble our efforts to build a nation worthy of their sacrifice. As we emerge from a decade of conflict abroad and economic crisis at home, it's time to renew America. An America where our children live free from fear and have the skills to claim their dreams. A united America of grit and resilience, where sunlight glistens off soaring new towers in downtown Manhattan, and we build our future as one people.
Everybody's naked
as one
and
nation.
happy and fed.
Here in Afghanistan,
and we're all voting
the call to defend their fellow
for the
citizens
Republicans and the Democrats
and uphold human dignity.
Uphold human dignity.
Today we were the fallen, and those
Let me
who
be clear.
suffered wounds, both seen and unseen.
Keep your doctor.
Through dark days, we have drawn strength from their example.
Ooh, dark days.
And the ideals that have guided our nation and lit the world.
Hallelujah.
A belief that all people are created equal.
Oh, hallelujah.
And deserve the freedom.
The freedom.
To determine their destiny.
Destiny. Hallelujah.
That is the light that guides us
The
still.
light that guides us still. Let me be
This
clear.
time of war began in Afghanistan. And this is where it will end.
Oh, dear. When, though?
With faith in each other.
When
And
will
our
it
eyes
end?
fixed on the future.
Eyes fixed on the
Let's finish
future.
the work at hand.
Let us finish
forge
the
a just,
funneling of the wealth at hand
lasting peace.
before we funnel the more wealth
May God bless
on
our
the next
troops,
mission in the Caper.
and may God bless the United States
At
of
great
America.
cost. They'll support peace talks, as we will support peace talks between the government of Afghanistan and the Taliban facilitated by the United Nations. And will continue the rights of Afghan women and girls by maintaining significant humanitarian and development assistance. And we'll ask other countries in the region to do more to support Afghanistan, especially Pakistan, as well as Russia, China, India, and Turkey. They all have a significant stake in the stable future for Afghanistan. And over the next few months, we'll also determine what a continued U.S. diplomatic presence in Afghanistan will look like, including how we'll ensure the security of our diplomats. Now look, I know there are many who will loudly insist that diplomacy cannot succeed without a robust U.S. military presence to stand as leverage. We gave that argument a decade. It's never proved effective. Not when we had 98,000 troops in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And not when
Tell
we
him,
were
Joe.
down to a few thousand.
Tell him, Joe.
Our diplomacy does not hinge on having boots in harm's
Are
way.
you
US
fucking
boots on the
retarded or
ground.
what, guys? Even Joe Biden gets
We have
it.
to change that thinking. American troops shouldn't be used as a bargaining chip between warring parties in other countries. When I came into office, I inherited a deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban. Under his agreement, U.S. forces would be out of Afghanistan by May 1, 2021, just a little over 3 months after I took office. U.S. forces had already drawn down during the Trump administration from roughly 15,500 American forces to 2,500 troops in country. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001. The choice I had to make as your president was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban in the middle of the spring fighting season. There would have been no ceasefire after May 1. There was no agreement protecting our forces after May 1. There was no status quo of stability without American casualties after May 1. There was only cold reality of either following through on the agreement, withdraw our forces, or escalating the conflict and sending thousands more American troops back in combat in Afghanistan, lurching into the third decade conflict. I stand squarely behind my decision. After 20 years, I learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces. That's why we're still there. We were clear-eyed about the risk. We planned for every contingency, but I always promised the American people that I would be straight with you. The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated. So what's happened? Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. Developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now was the right decision. American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves. We spent over $1 trillion. We trained and equipped an Afghan military force with some 300,000 strong, incredibly well equipped, a force larger in size than the militaries of many of our NATO allies. We gave them every tool they could need. We paid their salaries, provided for the maintenance of their Air Force. Something the Taliban
They even
doesn't
gave
have.
those guys
Taliban
some
does not have an Air
pensions.
Force.
Maybe a 401k. It's an interesting state of affairs, guys. The military that they trained so hardcore to spill the seed of democracy seems to only have been in vain. Seems democracy did not spread. It seems that we're watching Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. The chat's open. Yes, it's early. Early as fuck. Or it's late. Depends on whether or not you were in bed, guys. Truth is that things did unfold more quickly, guys, than imagined or anticipated. Biden said in a national address from the White House Monday afternoon. Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. Ashraf Ghani. Did he take Afghan lives, Afghan democracy? I think he took some Afghan cash. Speaking of which, guys, if you have any cash that you're just wanting to throw away, like the $20 trillion we threw away in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Yemen, and Libya, just feel free to donate to Tommy Nation Politics, actually. It's a meaningful cause, free-thinking, progressive, new, independent, progressive media. And we'll take your money. We'll do way more with it than the 20 years of Afghanistan and Iraq wars did for you guys. Probably do some better things. More positive things. Not negative things like killing your family or maybe causing terrorists in the future to hate America because the first black president drone struck their wedding. We're not going to do anything like that, guys. We're going to be free-thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded. You can hit us up, guys, on our website. If you ever want to watch our videos, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, www.TommyNationPolitics.com. And as always, you can hit us up with some free-thinking, innovative discourse at facebook.com/TommyNationPolitics. That's facebook.com/TommyNationPolitics. On our page there, send me a little message. I'll send you one back. Don't be rude, or I'll be rude. Just let me know. But, look fat. Get rid of Iowa. You're a long dog-faced pony show, guys. Oh, guys. If anything, the developments of the past week reinforce the ending. The U.S. military troops involvement in Afghanistan was the right decision. I mean, was it the right decision? Well, it was, I think. I think, guys, that we shouldn't have been in there in the first place. Democracy was never going to happen. This has all been just a wangled, tangled web of lies and deceit from the beginning. We had the CIA lie us into war, and the Republican Party under George W. Bush condone their sources from weapons of mass destruction and put the country in a situation where we were reeling from a attack from who was it? Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda attacked us, guys. Al-Qaeda. Terrorists, guys, launched an attack that brought down the Twin Towers. It was a sad sight. It was very sad. Never forget, guys. So what do? We went to Iraq first, deposed Saddam Hussein, led a power vacuum within the Middle East. And then we went over to Afghanistan to try to get Osama bin Laden. We got Osama bin Laden. But we still remained, guys. We still remained. There's a lot of things that are familiar with every president that talked about Afghanistan. I don't know if you noticed, guys. To end the Al-Qaeda safe havens. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted the Taliban to abide by Afghan law. We wanted the Taliban to respect women, right? It's funny because Barack Obama talked in that speech 2012 when he was starting on the surge, which was getting more troops with the Afghan troops in order to make a more of a force to train them and to make sure they build their sovereignty. That's what he said, and a lasting peace. Well, the things that we've built, guys. Let's just see what we've built. We've built a military that crumbled in the span of days. A span of days, guys. The military that we spent 20 years training fucking ran the fuck away as soon as we left, bro. I don't know, bro. What were they fighting for? Were they fighting for us? Because if they were, we left. So there's that. I think they were fighting for our Afghan sovereignty or a lasting peace. I think the Taliban's been in power longer than we have. And this was a quagmire from the very beginning. And fixing other people's countries is not this, what we're supposed to be doing, guys. We've got enough problems of our own. We've got an American dream that's becoming an illusion more and more, guys. An illusion. Yes, guys, an illusion. Washington, D.C., December 15th, 2017. This was before the Afghan surge. The United States, one of the world's richest nations and the land of opportunity, is fast becoming a champion of inequality, according to the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights. His name is Philip Alston. He was a rapporteur. That means he's part of the Human Rights Watch, and he's one of these people that, like, he gets information and research, and then he talks about his findings before a tribunal or a court or United Nations what's-its. So he found that after visiting Virginia, Washington, D.C., the South a little bit, Georgia, and then the West Coast, California, to get a good idea of our country, he basically said that we as Americans are the most, if not the most disenfranchised voter class in any organized country. We are the most disenfranchised voter class, guys. American exceptionalism was a constant theme in my conversations with Americans. But instead of realizing its founders' admirable commitments, today's United States has proved itself to be exceptional in far more problematic ways that are shocking, at odds with its immense wealth and its founding commitment to the human rights. Well, right off the bat, I think I know what Philip's talking about. Maybe the 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. Maybe it's wanting to spread democracy throughout the Middle East and South Asia when we don't have it ourselves in this own country. With the Republicans doing voter suppression and both political parties only wanting to maintain power. Sorry, guys, it's late / early. Maintain power. Look up. Let's all do a little homework assignment, guys. Let's look up political parties in the dictionary. Go ahead. Do it right now. I'll wait. What do you see there? You see maintaining power, governmental apparatus, getting votes. Yes. Do you see you? Do you see democracy? No. That's not what these two political parties are here for. Political parties are here to maintain power for their party. So their party can be powerful. And so it's like a corporation, like a CEO. That's the president. He's the CEO of the party. Now he pretends that he's the CEO of the United States of America, but we've given up our inalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, by acquiescing and saying yes to every single thing these thieves have ever come up with, whether they be horrible ideas or homicidal, insane ideas, or atomic bomb ideas. We've always acquiesced to the thieves, liars, and puppets of the rich who have driven our country into a primordial soup of evil swamp. It's a swamp that the Republicans called it. Draining the swamp. Trump didn't do it. Maybe he was an idiot. But all I know, guys, is if you just go through history, the history of our entire experience with Afghanistan and this country, you see some patterns. You see a price that some of us have to pay. Not the elites. Not the 1% that own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. But even the Taliban, guys, who were so evil, who attacked us on 9/11? It was Al-Qaeda, right? Al-Qaeda. Terrorists. No safe havens in Afghanistan. That was the reason why we were there, right, guys? So come time for, what's that? I'm going to get the date right on this. 2015. This is the exclusive report from the CNN, guys, the Central Network. Now, this was before the CNN realized that this was going to be bad, I'm sure. But or we weren't paying attention. But I want to show you this little. Can you see this, guys? Oh, okay. Sold to an ally, lost to an enemy. So, what am I about to say? You know how Barack Obama expanded the wars from 2 to 8? From Iraq to Afghanistan to Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, made it a slave state, Yemen, Sudan. All right, I can't even count them all right now because I'm tired. But in Yemen, the Saudis, they were doing a genocidal bombing. And they're our allies. We love them. Can't get enough of the Saudi princes. They have immunity here, by the way. If they came here, raped your daughters, they'd get all away scot-free because they got immunity. Isn't that crazy? So Saudi Arabia, they transferred American-made weapons to Al-Qaeda because we love the Saudis so much. They rape little boys. They fucking love to rape people because they get immunity here in this country. And they fucking hacked Jeff Bezos' phone, by the way. Tangent. They're wanting to know what our billionaires are doing. What the fuck are you doing, white bald guy? We are the rich Saudi princes. So anyway, they were doing a genocide in Yemen, right? And come to find out, guys, that not only were the Al Qaeda using our weapons, because the Saudis sold our weapons that we bought, we sold them to the Al Qaeda. You know, our sworn enemies. The reason why we're in the Middle East in the first place. The weapons have also made their way to the hands of Iranian-backed rebels battling the coalition for the country, exposing some of the America's sensitive military technology. Tehran and potentially endangering the lives of U.S. troops in conflict zones, guys. This was 2015 by the CNN. The U.S. shipped weapons and secrets to the Saudis and Emirates, and now some of our secrets are leaking. Turns out our Saudi allies don't really have much of a respect for us because we're prostitutes and we're right prostitutes. So they probably think, hey, we could sell the guns that they sold us to their sworn enemies, Al Qaeda. So we ended up, guys, selling weapons to Al Qaeda. 2017 comes around, guys. There's literally in the New York Times, there's a no clear objective in Afghanistan op-ed. So, guys, it turns out there was a clear objective. It was to drag us into wars. It was for the military-industrial complex to benefit from. It was from the police state, surveillance state to expand. And it was for the illusion, the American dream, to the veil that Trump tore off of it. Even he couldn't distract you from the fact that our country is suffering immensely with the abundance of resources, wealth, and labor. Now we have a dimensional-riddled old man in office who is literally the most reasonable voice in our government. Yes, guys, I said it. Joe Biden. He's dementia-riddled as fuck. But he learned after 20 years, why the fuck are we here, guys? What are we going to accomplish? Nothing. It's just going to be a quagmire. It always will be a quagmire. By the way, guys, this footage, I want you to ask yourself some questions. Why are they showing you this footage? Did you hear Biden when they showed him the footage? Dude, that was like 2 weeks ago. What if it was 2 weeks ago? What if this was all happening 2 weeks ago and now they just want to fucking give us a rise? Because why? The midterms? Or because they want to go back in now for some other reason? So, the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with, because it's already been an hour, and we got to rest and meditate on what we learned so we can level up and shit, right? Look at the muscles on you. Stop, criminal scum. Tulsi Gabbard, bro. Will we hold accountable the elite, the puppets of the rich, or will we allow them to do it again? That's pretty much what the question is right now, because it's the same strategy guide, the same playbook. They show you the footage, they show you the women, they show you the fucking running and the screaming, the crying. Now you want a nation build. Now you want to fix things in a country where literally they're happy just farming land. They don't need a fucking PlayStation. They're fine with their families. Now, if you would only stop drone striking their families, they would be happy. That would be awesome. That'd be it, right? You don't have to give them PlayStations and shit. Spread the seed of democracy. Just stop drone striking their fucking families. That's all you got to do. Maybe they wouldn't hate us so much. Gains lost. Lots of gains, guys. Lots of gains lost. I don't know what gains the American people gained, except for coffins, healthcare bills, rising income inequality, and a global consensus that Obama said that Pakistan has sovereignty. I thought that was funny because that was right before Obama went into Pakistan territory to get Osama bin Laden without their permission. Remember that? He was hiding out in Pakistan. Obama just said it was a sovereign nation. Well, he went to the sovereign nation to get Osama bin Laden with SEAL Team 6, didn't tell Pakistan. This is literally how sovereign Barack Obama thought Pakistan was. He didn't. He's a liar. So, guys, it really gets me when the most warmonger, most dementia-riddled old man in the room is literally the only reasonable guy saying this. There is no other alternative. We should get out. I wish Joe Biden would follow that up with and fix our own country, but he thinks everything's great. In fact, he ran on everything's already great. Why make America great again, right? Look, I don't like any of these slogans, guys, and I'm definitely not a Trump fan, but America was already great. Maybe for a fucking white dude with a fucking racist complex riding the trains in Delaware who tells the first black president he's clean and articulate, maybe everything's fine. Maybe America's already great for you, bro. We have the opportunity now to make America great, but it doesn't take what Trump says, just a border wall. It doesn't take fucking fear and hate. What it takes is us working for the common good. That's what it takes to make America great. So when y'all are ready to do that and stop listening to these guys that are idiots and are only in it for themselves and their parties, you're ready to come back and work together for the common good, e pluribus unum. That's where you can find domination politics, guys. That's where you can find, what did Obama say? A lasting peace. I think we're all looking for it, though. I know I am.